Oh, sorry, guys. Look, what an idiot I am. Here am I thinking I'm waiting for a countdown and I'm staring at I have had computer problems. Have you had one of these days? I've had one of these days. But welcome, Coaching with Chris. I'm pretty excited because I don't know Brian that good, but I'm going to get to know him today. I've watched him from afar. We have common friends, and I'm pretty excited to learn about his business, learn about, look, a professional soccer player, 5'10", and goalie, and what he's done for his mortgage career and what he's doing for coaching and helping originators across the country. Brian, welcome to Coaching with Chris.
What's happening, Chris? We share the computer issues. I had the manual reboot right as I was finishing up another call. It said, "You must reboot now." I'm like, okay, well, then that's what we're going to do.
I know. I can't control it. I'm not that computer. I'm not the greatest computer guy. But I thought I had everything set, and then all of a sudden it was gone. So then they're like, go, go. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, hey, we're human, Brian. We're human. That's all we can say.
That's right. We keep moving forward, right? It's like one of those, like, I can get mad and frustrated, or, I can just enjoy the downtime while it's restarting. I'm like, I've got another device. I'm going to respond to people and stay busy and active.
So, I mean, I know that we share a friend, Chris Welton, who's near and dear to my heart. Has been a great partner. He's really fun to watch his business grow. But tell me a little bit as getting to know Brian a little bit. Like, tell me your mortgage journey.
Yeah, like most people, I set out probably by the age of 5 to want to be in mortgage, right?
Oh, really?
It's always one of those. Hold on, what? No. It goes back, and you alluded to some of it. Is I was a soccer player, right? I mean, that's where I spent countless thousands upon thousands of hours. And starting as a young kid, my dad was our coach at church, and I had some amazing coaches. I did travel soccer, and then I was fortunate enough to do pretty well and got a scholarship to play D1 at University of Memphis, and was able to play 4 years there. Went on to play a little bit of professional and semi-professional ball, and I loved it. It was my life, right? It was like my identity, and I learned so much on and off the field. I got done, Chris, playing soccer, and I realized, okay, I need to go finish my degree. And it was part of what I'd promised my parents was, okay, I have this scholarship. I will go play soccer, live out my dream. And I decided I'm going to come back and finish. And I'm finishing with business, marketing, all this major. And I always liked finance and numbers a little bit. That was kind of like, if I were to pick a class, I would go, man, I would learn more about economics, finance, marketing. And so I thought I would get a job in the bank, right? And go financial advisor. And these guys looked awesome, right? Like my friends' parents and some of my friends that were older than me, they would dress up in suits, nice cars. Like, I'm going to go do that. Nobody would hire me. Like, literally, no one would, because all I had on my resume was soccer. I had worked in men's clothing and sold retail, like probably most of us at some point. Like I had done that.
Now, how old are you now?
What now?
How old are you at this point?
So at this point, I am 22, just out of college, coming back and trying to figure out where I am. Almost 23 because I'd played a couple seasons, and I really had nowhere to go. And I go to a college career day back at University of Memphis, and I'll never forget, I met these guys from Wells Fargo Financial, and they said, we hire people right out of college. We teach you, we coach you, we train you, we pay commission, we give you a base salary, we teach you your credit, income, and assets. Anybody that doesn't know much about that is like, we're in a strip center, if you can imagine, by a pizza buffet and a Chinese buffet, and we're helping people finance furniture that you hear on TV about 0 payments, 0 interest, and you're cold calling people to upsell them credit cards, auto loans. If you got really good and lucky, maybe you got a mortgage, but as a refinance, debt consolidation, like 18%, 20%. That was my introduction into the mortgage business as I started to realize the mortgage side of this, I can actually do some good. And then give you the short version of this is my wife and I went through the process like most, deciding to buy our first home. We had met and all that I went through, and I'm like, I can do this. And all my friends are asking me questions. So I had people to serve. I had already some experience of doing it myself. And that was my entrance in, which was 2001, December 10th. I'll never forget. And I got hired in. I'm like, no idea what I'm doing, but I had a great manager to start. So that was, as I say, that was the foundation.
I am sitting here freaking out. You know why?
Is that where you started?
I got into business 6 months from you. So like in the beginning of 2001. Okay.
Yeah.
to survive, we got a list of Wells Fargo Financial. I think it was Citi, but same concept of furniture loan, 90-day free interest. And we called to convert for mortgage. That's how we survived.
Yeah.
In the very beginning of it. I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this. So now you get a job, you're doing mortgage now. And are you still at Wells, or are you on to a different company?
I stayed at Wells for 13 years and I was in many different roles. But after about 18 months of doing the Wells Fargo financial side, I had a friend over in the mortgage side, and they gave me this amazing offer, Chris, like, $2,000 a month, right? So I leave my job that I'm actually doing pretty well. And they say, we're going to give you $2,000 a month for 2 months to come over here. You got to repay that, right? And I'm going, okay, my wife's an ICU nurse. And so we have some stability in her income. And I'm going, well, I really think I should do this, right? I'm having people asking me. It just looked like it was a better opportunity. And let's be real. At some point, I didn't want people walking in the strip center, and I didn't want to drive 45 minutes one way and all that. I'm like, I think I can do better. And I did. After a year, I was the top producer in the branch. And I had, again, some amazing mentors. But what I would share with you is I started as a junior loan officer, which I think was key, and actually sat in an office, if you can imagine, almost a 10 by 10. And I'm listening to my senior loan officer, the conversations, how he's quoting rates. I would go on joint sales calls. I would go out on the weekends to open houses. I would go to our church. I would go to soccer events. And like, anybody and everybody that would talk about buying a home, I just started to go out there and start to build it up. So I moved over and did full-time mortgage after that. And that was really the catalyst of how I got to Wells Fargo. And I ended up staying there amazing 13 years, man, amazing run. And of course, they promote the top producers to branch manager, because why not promote your top producer? I knew nothing about being a leader, by the way, a whole other conversation. But I will say it was phenomenal in that what Wells, those of us that went through that, the training and the people that were there during that season, unbelievable. Like, just they taught me and actually gave me what I still say is a foundation of not only sales, but marketing, just hard work. Back in the day, Todd Duncan had I Trust Sales and Marketing discs we would listen to every week in our sales meetings. And so that's how I came up in the game. And I was the guy like, what's the new CRM? What are we doing with this? What are we doing with that? And I was a little bit of an innovator in that sense of, I didn't know any different. I was just the new guy on the block.
You took a big step when you went from Wells Fargo Financial to Wells Fargo Home Mortgage. What'd your wife say?
Well, she's been still to this day, we married 23 years this year. She is still, and thank you. Yeah, it's one of those, like, she's still like my biggest supporter. She's like, I knew when I met you, whatever you wanted to do, you would do it and do it well and take care of us. And so I am blessed. And that's, I always say, like, outside of like my faith, like that's my best decision I've ever made, is marrying the right spouse. Because you go, man, through those seasons, she's like, yeah, I think this will be better because you're going to succeed at it. You're going to enjoy it. Our friends were asking questions already. And so it was never a doubt of like, why are you doing this? I mean, there were moments where we're like, I mean, I'm making good money. Why would you go do that? But no, she was supportive throughout it. And I will say, having that stability of people around me, that it wasn't very long, really. Once I started closing loans in a couple months, as you know, you make more money on the mortgage side than you ever could just in a straight salary.
Yeah. I would say still to this day, Wells Fargo beginner stage training is one of the best. It's probably one of my favorite to hire from. So yes, Wells Fargo, I do love hiring your employees. You do such a good job. The compliment is real. And they hire right out of college, train, and then you have something immediately. I just interviewed a bunch of my loan officers, and I was like shocked. Like 6 of them came from Wells Fargo, either in rehab loans or different departments, never home mortgage, but just different areas. They just did such a good job training. So now you're 13 years in Wells Fargo, and did something like Spurk, like now's a change, or?
Yeah, culturally, it was after a lot of the bank mergers and the whole Covey thing had kind of played its course after, 08. And what I started to realize was huge company, right? People don't realize, like, over 200,000 employees, 83 business lines or something around that. And mortgage was just one of them. And I started to see the shift of people that were on our team were leaving to go to some of the other organizations. And this is the way it happens in our business, Chris. I don't know about you, but I had a friend that moved over to Movement Mortgage, and they called and said, "Hey, you need to go meet these guys. You and Casey would hit it off. Like, our birthdays are a day apart. He played professional football. I was professional soccer. Like, we were both into CrossFit." I meet him, and instantaneously, like, him and his wife, Michelle, like, these are my people, right? And I have people there already. And I'm going, well, I know I need to leave the big bank and in the corporate world. And I just felt like, okay, this is my time. I've been here for 13 years. I've learned. A couple of my big mentors had retired or left. And I just felt like this is my chance. And they'd been so good to me that it was hard for me to ever leave. But when some people started to retire and leave, I realized, okay, you just kind of pay attention to that shift. And I did see the shift in the industry as well of the big banks at that time were tightening up so much. And there were so many fundamental changes that were happening that I said, this is my time, I believe, to make a move, continue to build my career, help other people. And so, yeah, it was phenomenal landing over at Movement early in the days. This was 2000, it would have been 14, right around there. So, just amazing. Still early in the days for Movement back then.
Yeah, that was early in the days. So today, like fast forwarding to this day, you're probably not originating, but you're leading. You got a coach group. Like, fill us in. Like, what's Brian got going on today?
My role has changed a lot, Chris. This has been really fascinating for me, right? Because just like Nicole and I being married now, over 22 years. And it's like, I've been in the business like the same amount of time. I've made a lot of mistakes. I tell people it's like throughout that, and I've served in a lot of different roles. Like, we even relocated to Florida before we had kids. And I got to experience some of that and worked in joint venture and home builder and condo and all this stuff. And,
wow,
today I take all of that information, and I've been fortunate. I went to a much smaller boutique company after a great run, and shout out to my friends over at Loan Depot, because 5 years there, we built something really special from like next to nothing, like 10 million a month. And when I left, we were doing over 2.5 billion. I mean, and the leaders that got promoted, the people that built teams, the top producers that had never done that kind of volume, like what we were able to build, I just felt like it was really special. Like, that was our family, and Anthony was always phenomenal, and John Bianchi, Paul Ramos, like I could go on and on. Like, Alec is still one of my buds. So I always say, it's like, that for me was such another lesson in that season of those 5 years. And then I just decided, I'm going to go smaller. I'm going to go over, and I was either going to do my own thing.
Yeah.
Where I'd met these guys at Revolution Mortgage, where I am now. And I've always had direct reports, like sometimes 15, 20 people reporting to me, and you're managing operations and you're managing all these other departments. And now, in more of a business development, I'm technically EVP of Strategy Development, which in a nutshell means I'm attracting the top teams to our organization that we believe are the right model, match, and fit. We run a P&L model. And so we're able to teach them not just origination, marketing, building their brand, but also you're running a business. And I think there's a lot of people out there that want to run their business, but they're maybe not ready to go out on their own yet. And they're trying to figure out this hybrid of, do I go broker? Do I stay in retail? Can I do a P&L? And so we're providing this platform for the right people that can do those well. They can scale their team. And then, yeah, Chris, along the way, I was called upon, I really feel like a few years ago, people that had mentored me and coached me. They're like, hey, it just kind of happened. Like, someone called me one day and said, hey, would you coach and mentor me? And I'm like, I mean, I've done that in sports. Like, I don't know what that would look like. And that just started to become one of those things, and it started to pick up. And I started doing group coaching where we had 6 people that they couldn't really either afford, or the one-on-one wasn't the right fit. We bring in these small groups. And today I feel like that's a large part of my calling, is how do I go back to the leaders? And I saw, Walter's comment here is, go back to the leaders that I was 5, 10, 15 years ago. What do I wish I had known, or people had provided to me in that season? And I'm going back now with our competitive edge coaching, and it breaks down everything from leadership to, I'll tell you what differentiates us today. The biggest, Chris, is we do attack not only the mental, but physical side of fitness, and obviously the financial side. But I think that's missing. There's a lot of great coaches that'll teach you how to go get more loans, how to put your systems together to put them through faster. That's not me. My job is actually to come in and help you structure your life in a way that you actually enjoy when you do get successful, that you don't look up and go, wow, I'm 50 pounds overweight. wow, I don't even know my kids anymore. Oh, wow, I haven't taken a vacation in forever. Oh, I haven't even done any type of tax planning or estate planning in my life. Like our industry, I'll just say it, is there's far too many people that aren't taking care of themselves outside of the office that
Yep.
I've been there. And so I know what it's like. And so my calling is really to come alongside those leaders, mainly producing branch managers that have to wear so many hats. There's so many requirements, responsibilities that they're not really sure how to even structure that. And so that's really more my calling, I believe, is I've been in the seat. I know what it's like. And I love those people because I actually know the code to help many of them build that and break out and actually create some freedom in their life and be successful inside and outside the office. So that's where I'm at today. And dude, I'll tell you this, we were just planning for 2025. Shout out to our team at Revolution. We will be up about $1 billion this year, 1.7 to 2.7 billion in a market, which, Chris, like we're fighting, every day is like, the market has not given us any of this. It's just doing the right thing. We say, do the right thing, take care of your people. And, I love the opportunity here at Revolution because our CEO, Tony, very forward thinking, just allows us to build and be entrepreneurial. Right. And that's what we're building.
Yeah. Man, you said a lot of things right there. And I know we got questions going, and please ask questions. This is how makes a better podcast in a sense, is being able to engage and ask questions back. So we'll get to them, I promise. But let's go back. Like what I loved about when you talking about coaching, in a sense, you're saying being well-rounded, but you get to know the student a lot more, and you don't care. You coach, if you're a broker, if you don't have to work for your company, you coach outside of your company, correct?
100%. That's what I tell people is that's been my goal. And it is not one of those that I'm coaching you to try to recruit you here. Because the reality is you may be better where you are or somewhere else. And
Right.
this, Chris, is I want people to find their best spot. And
Yeah.
so I actually like people not in our company at times because it gives me perspective, but also I'm a trusted resource for them because I do have connections throughout the industry and I'm not part of their company. And so they can bring things to me to really say, hey man, here's what's going on. What would you do? And my first thing is never to go, well, you should just leave those guys. No, let's figure this out.
Right. Because the best answer is probably figure out how to stay.
That's it. That is the goal. That's what I've done many times. Stay, fight through. It gets better.
You said you coach a lot of producing branch managers or non-producing branch managers?
There's actually a mixture of both, probably about 50-50 today. What I've seen is there's been a shift of the producing branch manager is starting to really resonate and come back because they realize today, because like they've built their production, they've got that many times nailed down. But this whole other side, whether it's recruiting, whether it is building their own personal brand, whether it is they have dreams, a lot of people today want to speak on stages. They want to go out and give back. And they're just not even sure, like, where do I start with that? And, a large part of my journey has been that of like, put myself out there and speak on stages before I was ready, get people like Renee Rodriguez to teach me, coach me, train me. And I think a lot of them are wanting that. The non-producers, they're usually coming for a very different reason. I believe we're very much going through a huge shift in our industry of middle leaders and C-suite leaders. In most organizations, retail specifically, are under attack in the sense of margin compression. And you also have, do you need that many layers? How many layers do you need? What does that look like? What's the role look like? All of that is changing. And we can debate this for days, but the reality is the role has changed years ago, and some people are just now catching up. And so those are some of the non-producing leaders that one comes to mind right now. They're actually reporting that I work with. They're reporting up to the CEO of their company. I love those leaders. Like I know exactly what they're going through.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you're better producing branch manager. I didn't quit originating until a few years ago. But I was a non-producing branch manager and I didn't think I performed very well. It was probably the time of my life around 14 that I thought I should get out because I felt like my loan officers were passing me. And I was stagnant. I was fat. I was everything I didn't want to be. And, getting back in producing and hunting recharged me. That's me. But yeah, I mean, if you got 100 LOs, I get it. if you got 20 LOs and you want to be a non-producing manager, I think you should take another look at it. But I don't know what your theory is of what that magic mark is. I know everybody's different, but you're coaching both, and where do you see that magic number is to the audience? Like, how many LOs do I need to have underneath me before I should consider being non-producing?
I don't think it's number of LOs. I actually think it's going to be driven from what are your income goals, and then what are you really good at. And I think that's why a lot of people, they have approached this the wrong way of, I came up under the headcount game, right? Like, I mean, that was part of it. Well, it was like branch manager, you have 8 to 10 people. Area manager, you have usually 5 to 7 branch managers, right? Like there was all these numbers. I think we need to relook at this and think about the volume play that feeds into your income, and whether you're able to make profitability in the branch or you're just strictly an override basis point person. You need to figure out those numbers. But the second point, I would tell you, the second part's important, Chris. People miss this, is what do you love doing and what are you really good at? And within that intersection, there's probably something that you, if you got a coach or mentor, could improve, that you're at a 5 or 6 today and you went to a 7 or 8 and you were able to add value to your current team and you got their volume up 20, 30%, the loyalty you created, the volume that you just basically infused into your branch, you would be rewarded from that. And then I think there's an opportunity, just like I was brought up, and I also did, is when I started to pull back on my production, I brought in 1 or 2 people. I remember one specifically, and then a second to start taking over some accounts, some relationships. And I started to pull that out. That's the goal. And I think that's where people miss it, is you don't have to get rid of it. I look up and go, okay, I've got Chris on my team. He wants to do more production. He's fully capable. He is somebody that can actually originate the loans well, great customer service, all these things. I provide an opportunity to you. I've now added value. I've created a sense of loyalty and trust between us, and I'm taking care of my referral partner where I couldn't have done it by myself. So I think people need to start looking at this, and then don't miss the opportunity of, if you're a 5 or 6 in an area, for example, recruiting. Today, I would tell you the number one thing we hear from producing branch managers and non is they don't know how to attract the right people. They don't have a targeted avatar, and their results are like a roller coaster. Welcome to the club. I was there for years until I finally hired a coach and started to figure some things out and got a little bit better. Not perfect at it by any stretch, but I got better. I probably went from the 5 or 6 to a 7 or 8. And that incremental lift is where I think people need to start really reverse engineering their business and to start looking at it. But I think this is where the gap is. Most leaders can't walk you through it because they've never been through it. It's hard to live something you've never lived. Like you were talking about getting in shape, right? And where you were to now. Unless you've been through that, it's hard to go back and go, yeah, well, here's what I did, and here were the things that helped me. So long-winded answer just to say, I think people should look at this in a way that they can reverse engineer their success and look at what success and define it for what it is for them. And then we start to look at the levers that get us there.
Right.
That's it.
Right.
Instead of like our industry's flooded with, well, this is what a top producer does. This is what, this person does. And it's always volume and income. And here's the thing. If you can get there on this income and provide for your family and your goals and your dreams, then you should just be excellent at that and quit chasing this number because you saw somebody else in Scotsman Scott or somewhere doing more production than you. Like that always, like people tell me, oh, this person's running this team, this amount of volume. I'm like, great. Is that where they want to be? Is that their goal? I don't know. I think we've been chasing success and people haven't defined what success is for them. And so they never really feel like they've arrived anywhere, and they don't actually have any fulfillment because they're chasing somebody else's definition of success.
Yeah. Oh, I could think of scenarios where I've chased something that I thought was success, and I got to the end and I'm like, this is it? This is what it feels like? And then you're like, yeah, well, this sucks. This is not what I wanted. This is not what it's supposed to look like. It's supposed to look totally different. And so I could totally relate to that. Hey, Dwayne says, what would you say was your best marketing tool early on after you made the switch to mortgage? It's a great question.
I love that. So I'm going to take what I did then and I'll make it relevant to now because I'm actually working through some of this today. So then, again, I'll go back to the Todd Duncan one, was the high trust sales and marketing piece of actually defining how I was going to prospect. I think prospecting today has changed. I'll kind of get to that in a second. But then it was really just about my prospecting. And so marketing to me was, how many points of contact could I make? And what worked for me then, obviously it's different today, but there were open houses. I'll never forget, Chris. We would leave after church on a Sunday and we'd go to the big neighborhoods that were super expensive that we couldn't afford, but I knew where they were. And I could do really easy math, right? Like if I do a $500,000 loan, I get paid more than a $100,000 loan. Like I could do
easy
that math. It's easy math. So I would start calling all of these places and I was prospecting into areas other people were not. Early on for me, and I think this is true today, and I'll kind of bridge this gap to today, is one of my favorite referral sources that I think people do not market is even this morning, I'm talking to a large financial planning firm that has over 200 clients. They're based out of Florida, and I love financial planners. One, they're more sophisticated. Their just aptitude on what's going on, their understanding of their clients is different. Some of these boutiques that exist out there today, we're very aligned on our values. And I love that because these are people that even as of this week, I've gotten a referral from them to help out someone wanting to buy an investment property. And they're just wanting to understand their options. Do we go DSCR? Should we just go traditional? Like they're asking questions that I can help them solve a problem. I'm not a commodity. They're not shopping me on rate when they call me to go, hey, what's your rate on the 30-year fixed? The conversations are different when you get around different people. So the way I would market myself is I would actually start to go in the niches and I would start to figure out, for me, I love financial planners. I also did a lot of business in the condo and new construction space because most people weren't patient enough to wait 4 to 6 months for that customer to actually build their home and to go through. Most people weren't patient enough to go out to the builder, even if they had a preferred lender, and to work on the junk they send you in the early days, the first 6 months to a year, that are turn downs and deals they can't do. And most people are not patient enough to go out and find these referral sources that, yes, they take you longer to build trust and to get traction. But I will tell you, over the long run, marketing them is going to be better than your traditional real estate agent that most of you know the stats. The other day, I think I saw 74% of real estate agents sell one home or less, but yet most of our marketing is geared towards real estate agents. Let me just tell you, the teams that exist out there, they're very different. If you're calling on a real estate team or the broker owner, very different. So I would start to market. Modern prospecting today, I'll just give you a very quick tactic that works well for me. Create a top 25 in your market of people that you want to work with. These are team leads. These are broker owners. These could be builders. These could be financial planners. These could be CPAs. All of these different buckets of referral sources. In your top 25, I want you to find them on social. Make sure you're friends with them on all the platforms. I love LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. Those are my top 3. And I want you to go out there and start engaging in their posts.
That's because of our age, right?
That's our niche, right?
That's our niche right there.
I'm like, man, LinkedIn to me, like again, I've been on there a couple decades now. I feel like I'll age myself, but it is one where if you go on there and you're consistent, I started to make sure I'm friends with them. Number 2, engage in their content thoughtfully. And I showed this to a group last week. We were teaching.
Liking it's not enough?
Let me just, it's kind of like the drive-by and you're just like, you just keep going. When's the last time, Chris, that somebody liked a post and you actually remembered that they liked it? Versus, I come on your post, Chris, love what you're doing over here. You're adding value into our industry. I love the energy you show up with. Keep it up. I'm in your corner.
Right.
So there is a quick hack. For those of you that are out there, you just want to know the secret to this, because I know we all love these kind of shortcuts. Mm-hmm. On your phone, when you go in to post that comment, I show people this, and most don't do it. I'll just tell you, but hopefully some of you will. There's a microphone button down in the bottom. Press the microphone button, speak what I just did as an example, and you can share that. It will not have the typos. It will type it out conversationally, and it will leave something that's thoughtful, meaningful, and rememberable. If you start to do this, watch what happens after 60, 90 days of engaging in that group. And please, when they respond to you, which people will, make sure you respond to them. Now, here's where the magic happens. And I want you guys, don't miss this, because this is where people stop.
Right.
Is your goal is to take these comments, move them into conversations offline. Right. How do you do that? You can DM them. If you have their cell phone, you can send them a text. And what I would be dropping in there is books I'm reading, podcasts I'm reading, news articles about our local real estate market, mortgage trends that are happening. I'm giving them things of value. I'm not asking for anything. When they engage and reciprocate back, Let's say Chris just engages back, says, hey, Brian, thank you so much. You've been adding all this value. Thank you for sending me the book, all these different things. Say, Chris, I'm glad you've enjoyed that. It sounds like we should probably get together in person and see what other areas I might be able to assist you with. I would love to hear more about your story and what you're going through right now. All about you.
Good.
I'm moving that comment to a conversation, which hopefully becomes a connection offline. So don't miss that. People don't do this modern day prospecting. You could go on there in 30 minutes or less. You could get to all 25 and you would be done. Now, the best would probably spend another 30 minutes later to respond to the comments that actually come back to you. You do that, and I can assure you within 60 to 90 days, you're going to have people that want to meet with you, engage with you, sending you referrals, and just going, you're different.
Yeah.
You're different. So that's who we want to be.
I'm going to write that down. Like, I think I'm stealing it from you, which is comment to conversation. That is so good. This is so good. And like, just reminding loan officers, just if you hear comment to conversation and using your social media to do that, that's awesome, Brian. Now, John Major, I know John, Omaha kid. How impactful has the Revolution model been in the synergy standpoint with realtor and LO branch manager partnerships?
Oh, yeah. So this one's new for us. I will tell you, this is the one to just kind of frame up so you guys understand is there are real estate companies, brokers, team leads, people like that are not going the traditional joint venture model. They also are a little bit jaded, or maybe the MSA model is not a fit for them. And so they've come, and some of them have partnered up and they've actually created their own branch. And they've done it in a compliant way. That way they're sharing a branch together. They're business developing, they're recruiting agents, they're recruiting loan officers. Like basically they're partners running a branch. Now all the business flows through there, right, Chris? So like if I'm running the branch, all my refis, all my referrals from, let's say they're at EXP, but my Keller Williams team sends me referrals. We're now running a branch together, managing the pipeline. We're helping train the team. We're doing all these things together. I believe this is where it's going, and probably not for the reason you think. Yes, the revenue's going to be there, so that's good. Controls there, which we all know we all want control of the pipeline and how deals are flowing through and manage. I believe if you look at consumer behavior today, you just take the iPhone, for example, people want one-stop shop and convenience. They just want to be able to do everything in one place. And what we're seeing is buyers, all different demographics, first-time home buyer all the way up to investment buyers, they want to go in and have that expertise from the real estate side, the mortgage side, even the title side. They just want one stop to put together and to make some of that simple, right? And that's where I see these partnerships. I know we're not the only one that does it, but I think we do it in a nice way that really is, one, compliant, because you've got to make sure you do that correctly. And then two, it is not for everybody. I mean, there's plenty of those. They're calling us, hey, we want to partner. We want to do this. And we explain to them the standards and the guidelines. They're like, oh, nope. And they're like, cool. Hey, if you're not willing to do these things, we're not the right fit for you. So I do think this is going to be an evolution in our business, and we're in the early innings of it.
Yeah. So, just breaking down a basic 50-foot drive-by view is you're paying a realtor a percentage of the basis points along with then the LO branch. Is that kind of like the basis?
Imagine you have a P&L that you're both sharing. The realtor is traditionally a non-producing, right? So they don't have to go get licensed, and we don't want them in the mortgage business. We're not trying to teach realtors how to do mortgage. That is not the game. Right. I would tell you that those models that are out there, I would just, we're going a different route. We'll just say it that way.
Okay.
So the non-producing manager will be on the real estate side. And then we have our traditional branch manager that is our mortgage team member that's already there. And they do have a P&L, right? So instead of just originations and getting paid commission, if you do a good job of managing your expenses, manage your fixed overhead, your leases, your marketing dollars, communications, all those things, then at the end of the day, if you do a good enough job, all the business that flows into that branch should have a positive profit, right? Positive revenue there outside of your expenses. Then that would be divvied up how they decide. They split that. And those are traditionally then used to reinvest back into their marketing efforts, could be used into business development efforts. And they're actually managing a company in a small way, like a joint venture, right? But now having to put up the capital, go through all of that additional red tape.
Now, I know this question is going to come. The realtor is not licensed.
Correct.
The loan officer and the branch manager is.
Correct.
And can the loan officer have more than one company, like meaning they had two different real estate firms or just one?
Well, they would have their one P&L that they would set up. And so that one P&L is where all their business would go through. So whether it came from that agent, they self-sourced it, it was a refinance, all of that has to come in. That's one of those compliance pieces of, if you started to segregate that, now you're starting to pay based on just the referrals. You want to just have where you're running a branch together. That's why I always like, this is a full-blown partnership. And if one side is not pulling their weight, there'll be more tension. And so that's the best way to think of that branch is you're both running it and generating leads, opportunities. And at the end of the day, you do a good enough job, there's more to share.
Yep. Awesome. Brendan, what is the best advice you have for top producing transitioning into leader or branch manager with that shift? Ooh, I love this question.
A good one.
What's the best advice, Brian?
Right now, I would tell you building your personal brand is the one that you hear, but I want to break it down for you a little bit different way, because you hear people talk, oh, go build your brand, oh, go do this thing. Building your brand should be a reflection of your core values, who you are, and it should be so powerful in your local marketplace that people know you, they know who you are, and they're able to flow to you. And what I mean by that is when you're showing up on social with videos and educational content, maybe even some funny stuff, some memes, however you approach it, you should be able to get this out to thousands upon thousands of people every week. And to me, that is the modern way to get in front of people, because COVID changed everything, I believe, is whether you're licensed in 4 states or 20 states, whatever it is, you can now market people. And as a new leader and branch manager, I want you to think about your ability to develop business is going to be your ceiling as to what LOs you can retain and attract to join your team. So as a leader, the number one skill you can have is to build your brand and your tent so big that you have referrals coming in from all over the place. You have opportunities you can just hand out to people. I mean, imagine walking into a branch as a new loan officer and your branch manager says, hey, you know what? I just found this new real estate agent in my community. They want to meet with somebody on our team. I'm going to hand this one to you. I want you to go out there. This is going to be your opportunity. Imagine you're able to do that consistently with your team. They aren't going to leave you. They're going to be loyal to you in a way that they actually reciprocate and work harder to make sure that relationship is cared for. And so I think that's going to be the skill that goes forward. If I'm a new leader, I don't believe it's about the old days. Chris, I don't know if this is for you, but when I came up in the business and for a long time, it was how quickly could I problem solve and troubleshoot the loan? Like you had a loan scenario and I needed to help you. Then it kind of became price. Let me help you overcome the price game. I think we're into a new season of you need to be business development and a rainmaker in your branch, because the reality is we have structured desks. We have underwriters we can call, right? Like we have people at every company. It's not just a Revolution thing that you can call with a scenario. I mean, I know here with all the non-QM, we moved in-house, like you can call and get a quick answer in like 10 minutes. Someone's going to tell you how to structure, how to do this, how to change this in Encompass, like whatever it is. So the role of that leader has changed. And so I think your focus and your attention should also be there. That's how you're going to attract people. And it's also how you're going to be able to retain them for the long run. Is you do that well, and you're making yourself a little more bulletproof. Like who's going to be able to come in and take people from you when you're engaged and you're helping them build their business? I think that's where I would lean into. Get really good at that.
Yeah. I think Shayla said it the other day. She's talking about Rainmaker, and she says the difference between leader and helper. And I think people follow leaders, not helpers, even though we think helpers are the number one thing. I thought she had a really, really great point. One of the last questions there we can move on was, are you doing one-on-one coaching? Are you doing group coaching? Like, let's talk about coaching a little bit. We talked about what your mission is. We talked about a little bit of like your style of coaching, but if there's originators or branch managers listening today and they're like, man, I'm really connecting with Brian. What's coaching look like to be involved in your company?
Yeah. So the one-on-one, I do 3 calls a month and glad to meet with people. There's a vetting process. We have a one-on-one call. What I want to make sure of is I'm not just taking on clients to take them on. This is truly more of a passion project of, I believe that's something I'm called to do. And so just know that is we will vet it out, and I'll make sure if I'm not the right person, I will introduce you to people that I believe are. If you are the right one, just know, you can tell from my competitive sports background, is not only am I going to challenge you and push you, but I'm also going to be one of your biggest cheerleaders and encouragers of, I believe when you have someone that mixes the two together, much like being a parent, got 3 kids, 17, about to be 16 and 9, is when I'm challenging them and supporting them towards what they've told me their goal is, beautiful things happen, like magic happens. And so the one-on-one coaching traditionally is going to be at least a year, because I believe within 90 days, we'll have our first breakthrough. 6 months, you're going to see some transformation. The next 6 months is really accelerating you to become that person that can accomplish those goals repeatedly, and then we'll raise the standard that's there. So that's the one-on-one. It is one-on-one with me. Again, 3 calls a month, typically 45 to 50 minutes. I like to do those over Zoom. So again, it's very personal. I have had some people in that one-on-one, Chris, that they'll actually come to Nashville, where I live, and quarterly or semi-annual, we'll come and we'll just break things down in person. So just know it's not just, hey, let's do a call, let's check in with you. We're going to make sure you're winning. The group piece, we are going to relaunch that, and it's traditionally 4 to 6 people, because I believe there's some synergy with what happens there. And so glad to walk you through that. There was last year, we had a phenomenal group, and even this year, it went through an 8-week series that we've got that program that exists. Or if we want to do a longer group session, then we can do that with the right people. And again, that's traditionally your non-producing managers, your producing branch managers. Or if you're saying, I want to become a leader, that's my next step in my career, you would be ideal for that group as well.
Yeah, I love that. There's a lot of synergy being in a group of 4 to 6, just learning. And some of my greatest friends came from being in a group of 4 to 6.
It's incredible. I see these guys post, like, I know the groups, and I see them supporting each other now, and they're all at different companies, right? So it's kind of cool to see them today. And my greatest joy is there's one of them, and I won't call their name out, but seeing what they're doing in their community right now, seeing what they've done in their fitness, it's like, who is this person? You know what I mean? And my goal is always, at some point, my belief is I want to graduate them out to go do this and teach other people, right? So it's not a, hey, coach with me for the next 10 years. There are some people that have coached me for several years, but they're leveling up. And so each level, it makes sense. But to see that, man, it's like, it's the joy of, you've created a leader that's going to go impact other leaders. That's been my vision of, like John Maxwell, leaders create other leaders that create other leaders. That's right. Mission.
I love John Maxwell. Wow. Can you believe this question? Which I am like, I love this. Do you believe that you can regroup, reset, and still succeed after 22 years in the business in the mid to late 50s? Absolutely. By the way, I'm 52. And if I had to reset, I would do it. Would I be scared? Sure. But could I do it? Yes. And I think you could too. Answer that question. But that like makes me really gets me going, because I love it when someone, no matter what your age is, goes through a reset.
Well, I love the question, because what it tells me is you have some type of inkling, desire, maybe something that's been put on your heart that you know you're supposed to go do this. And so the fact that you're even asking that, Renee, tells me that you're ready for that, and you need to believe it and receive that the opportunity is there and you're equipped. You have what you need inside of you to go tackle that. I do believe coaching and mentor, all those things is going to help you get there and actually get there sooner. But what I would also share with you is a lot of what I teach. I'm a son, my dad's a psychologist. So some of you that have followed my other content, you'll know I am very focused on the mental side of the game, because I believe the words we speak, the things we say to ourselves, most importantly, the things we say to other people, our language and how we actually interact is so powerful. And when you start to believe it, and you start to move in now a posture of positioning to then go and attack it every day, 1000%, I think you can do it. I have friends, like, not even just in business, but like in fitness. I had a guy the other day, Chris, reach out. I just turned 47. I'm in the best health I've been in 20 years. And he's asking me this question. He's 55. And I started to share with him 90 days in and what he's lost, what he's done. He's going, yeah, in my business, he's in construction. He's like, my business is thriving, my marriage, and like all these things. I'm going, that's the idea. It's all intertwined. So 1000%, Renee.
Just asking that question means you need to go do it, really.
Yes, please. You can tell I get excited about this because I have seen and I've experienced it myself. When we have that calling and we have that desire, we need to go act. We need to then put the actions behind it.
What's the next 5 years look like for Brian?
We're building Revolution, which is going to be fun, man. It's such a journey, and I love the vision that we're attacking there is to stay small, boutique, and keep that to a small group. But I'll tell you, I'm in an interesting season right now where our oldest is a senior in high school. She's going to be going to college. And then we've got our middle child is a sophomore in high school. So he'll be going to college. So we'll have one kid at home, which we've almost never had because our two oldest about 18 months apart. And so I'm looking forward to that next season of building the company. And then obviously I've diversified out and got into some other investing because I believe you should diversify, right? Shouldn't just be doing one thing. And I see the coaching business expanding quite a bit. I know God's put that on my heart. And the people that need it, that continue, like even this call, it's a validation for me. I look for those signs of like people need that. And so my job is just to get in front of more of them and to serve the people that are there. And I'm excited. I will tell you on a different front, Chris, I mentioned that I'm in the best health and shape I've been in over 20 years. I just wonder what's possible. Like this for me has become this game of like the human body and the mind, I think are so powerful. And when you start to unlock, you start to really realize all of the opportunity, I'm excited for where that goes. Because if you'd asked me 5 years ago if I thought I would be here, I would have laughed and been like, I'm just too old. Like I can't do that yet. I could get to here, but I can't get to there.
Right.
So now just breaking these limiting beliefs myself and helping other people do the same.
What's one big goal then you want to accomplish?
I'll tell you on the business side is building out Revolution. Our dream has always been to build this over the next really 5 to 7 years of 8 to 10 billion a year.
Yep.
Small 150 branches, take care of our team. So that's really important to me because that was my commitment when we came on. And then building this coaching side has been really crazy. My coach challenged me the other day, and I'll share this with you guys so you could probably use this, is I shared with him my goal, and he asked me this question. He said, are you protecting yourself with that goal?
That's a good question.
Truth, confession, yeah. And my goal, without sharing too much with you guys, is the revenue number. And what I shared with him was, I can do that. I mean, it's not going to be a challenge. And he said, well, what would it take? And what would be the goal that scares you? The one that, like you would tell me, but you probably wouldn't tell anybody else.
Right.
And so I told him, and he's like, I think you need to think bigger. And so my homework has been thinking bigger, and I'm going through why I want that, not the number. The number is just, and I started to figure out, Chris, to back into this, is the number of people is where I've landed, the number of people I want to serve. How many leaders can I serve? And ratcheting that up, I'll tell you, from like, I'll help 10 leaders. And maybe I could help 100 leaders. And now I'm thinking crazy of like, is there a way I could help 1,000 leaders over the next 5 years?
Wow.
I don't know. I mean, it's possible. So I'm in this with you. So I share all that with you. So, like I'm thinking the same way. Whatever goal you're thinking, like just know I'm challenging myself through this too. So that's where I am, Chris. And this is like, I'm here and my mentality is attack every day. Every day stacks up and becomes a great week. Every week then stacks up and becomes a great month. Every month you stack becomes a great quarter, and so on. And I show up every day just like my former athlete kind of self of like, I'm just going to attack this game. Like this is the game. After that, I'll attack the next one.
Wrapping up here and asking you one more question. By the way, this is amazing. What did soccer and being a goalie do to, in a sense, transform who you are today?
It's probably everything of my identity that I start to realize now. What I learned on the field, which, if you're a goalkeeper, the amount of stress and pressure of you can absolutely be the fall guy. You make one mistake, everybody's watching you.
Right.
You might be on the other side of it. And I've been on both of these, Chris, where I've had a shot that you should save goes in. Team loses. And everybody's going to the locker room and you're like, oh, that sucks. I've been on the other side. Penalty kicks. And you're the hero. I've been on the other side and made the save. Like the breakaway I was thinking about the other day, even back to high school, my son was playing. So it's full circle moment. And I remember us winning 1-0 in the state championship. And I'm going back going, that was the field. That's where we were. And I'm playing these shots and all these things in my head. And a goalkeeper mindset to me is in origination, we think about we're only as good as our last month is what people will say. And I don't believe that. I actually believe you're only as good as the next game you sign up for and you compete in, meaning whatever happened is over. Next play, next opportunity. And it taught me resiliency, and it taught me the ability of no matter what's happened in the past, the next play is all that matters. And people forget all of this other stuff. People are going to forget, by the way, the volume you've done, the money you've made, all these things that we think matter and we focus on. That goalkeeper mindset, you challenge every play, you're a leader on and off the field, and you show up and you have standards over your feelings so that nobody ever questions your commitment and your discipline, not just for yourself, but I believe as a goalkeeper, it was my responsibility to be the on-field coach, direct coach, encourage, lift people up. And I believe that's why, Chris, my last 2 years of college, I was nominated and the players voted for me to be the captain. And I never forget that experience. And I share it with you because it was always a reminder to me is there is a great responsibility as a leader, just like there is as a goalkeeper. And I never take that lightly. And it is one that I look forward to, man, because the challenge doesn't mean you're always going to get it right.
Right.
But very few step into the field of battle to compete. And so I'd invite you, if that's you, step into the field of battle. There's no better feeling than competing. Whether you win or lose that day, you got to compete.
That's right. I love that. Brian, thanks for coming on. You're amazing. You gave so many cool nuggets today. If you want to get coached by Brian, reach out. How do they get connected with you, Brian?
Yeah, easiest way is I've got my website, www.briancovey.com. Just reach out there, or I answer all my DMs on Instagram is probably one of the faster ways. And it is the Brian Covey because someone had my name years ago. And so I had to take that one. But drop me a DM. And if you just want to explore what that would look like for you and have a conversation, and I'm always blessed. Chris, thank you for having me on because I do consider it an honor to get to share just things I've learned along the way. And if I can help one person, I always say, think differently, act differently, show up differently. The ripple effect, I've seen it. And I believe that's what many of us are called to do. And thank you for allowing me to get to share some of that today.
Yeah, thanks for coming. All right, guys, if you enjoyed this, make sure you share this with your friends, your family, your coworkers, because we love to be able to share. Brian threw a lot of cool nuggets together. And if you're thinking about get coaching, it was a coach that changed my life, and Brian wants to change yours. So make sure you reach out, DM him, go to briancovey.com. And thanks for joining Coaching with Chris. We'll see you, Brian.